and running. We'll probably need to catch it here. Checking on Twitch. Alright, up on Twitch. Checking on YouTube. Not quite yet. I think it's just kicking in now. Takes always a little longer. Checking on chat. And on chat. Here it is. All right. Hi, this is Sven with Sven Codes. And today is Code Hangout number 99.1. And the reason for that is because I want to save number 100 for something special. And I wasn't quite ready yet. So we're going to do a few dot numbers. It's a bit of a pity because it's actually, according to YouTube, the 1 year anniversary of this channel. Already 1 year, jeez. So 100 streams in 1 year would have been actually quite neat. But here we are. So today I am going to do some optimizations of the startup. I worked on a feature this week, and I noticed that, and I've been noticing this for a while, but I assumed there was some kind of issue with the servers. But I noticed some puzzles taking a while to show up. And it turns out it's actually the replay running to restore the state of a puzzle. And if it's, you know, a puzzle like this with about 3,000 something actions, takes about 3-4 seconds to run. And it was actually not showing the puzzle until the replay finished. So I already made a small change here. So if I refresh this, it'll actually show the blank puzzle while it's restoring the replay. The problem with that is that while the blank puzzle is showing, you have the, you might be able to actually interfere with it and mess it up. So we need some sort of loader there. And there's a couple of other things I'd like to look into. I'd like to actually look at data size because, you know, a long time ago, the site was really small and I never really worried about it. But I'm like doing like, I don't know, 15 gigabytes of data every day from the Firebase server. So a lot of that is probably unnecessary. And I've been wanting to move to the Amazon server, but I've had performance issues there. But maybe some of that performance issues can be resolved by just, you know, improving some of the code. And it's not a complex site, but I've also been super lax on that stuff. So maybe I'll tighten it up a little bit and improve some usability stuff in the process. Before we get started, I'm gonna make this small change that's been pending. Basically, I had this little, basically I had this feature where if I add a bunch of pencil marks, it'll shorten them when it gets over 3. And it's a little too early, and it's flawed because it doesn't maintain the error checking. So that's that'll be a little bit more complex to fix. I mean, it's a very fringe feature, and a lot of people will be using it, so I haven't been too concerned about it. But, 1 second. Oh, YouTube is telling me I'm live. Okay, that's good to know. But I'll change it from 4-digit to at least 5, and I think that's actually going to be a small improvement. Yeah, let me see. Where was it? What did I call this? Shortened something. Compact marks. Here we go. So compact marks. And I mean, the thought process is that 3, because we're adding a dash for a range. So the range always takes up 3 characters. So at 4 characters is the first time we're actually saving a character. But saving 1 character might not be valuable enough to warrant that, right? So let's see. I think that check would be done over here somewhere. Let's see. I'll get down, input start, range start. Let me think. Oh yeah, this is actually, it does have an input thing as well. So I can write 1 minus 9. No, control 1 minus 9. Yeah, and it'll actually create a range. Again, I really should document these things somewhere. Let's see where that number though is. That's magic number here. So let's move that, first of all, let's move that into a constant, and let's call this the range min size equals 4. And this would be greater or equal to range min size, and I don't think the 3 is used anywhere else. So that should maintain our current behavior. Let's see, make sure everything is running smoothly. Yeah, so now if I add 4, Yeah, so that still changes. But if I change this to 5 now, and maybe there could be... It might make sense for settings to actually have, like, settings in the UI and then sort of advanced settings as just sort of raw data for some of these. That should be a nice thing. Oh, it's still doing that. Okay, so there must be another... Ah, here we go. So what's the separation here? What's... For I... ranges.push... If rlang... If rlang is greater... Then down here... 1 second. What is... rlen is 1. Len is the number of candidates. We're going through the candidates. If the numeric value of the start plus that is equal to this. So we're going along the candidates and saying, okay, as long as the next candidate is the next in order, we're just increasing the range length. Otherwise, if we've already exceeded the range length, we're adding this range to the ranges. Okay. And then we're resetting. So this builds the range. So this says, this builds, adds it to ranges. This loops through what exactly? All the candidates. If rlang ranges.push. Oh, okay, and this is just the final check. All right, I don't like this in loops when you have to have one more, because that's just a repeat of this code, right? So we're looping through it, and then we're doing it one more time at the bottom. And the reason for that was, let me think. The reason for that was that if the final character... All right, let me think about this. Why do I have to repeat this here? So let's say we have exactly 4 candidates, and let's say our range is 4, right? Shouldn't this... Ah, yeah, because this check basically says, okay, the 4th character gets into the range, and that's it. If we take away this else, is that enough? I think so. I think we just take that away, right? And then we never need to execute this code down here. I think that should always work. Let's find out. Yeah, I don't know why that didn't occur to me at the time. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. Now if I remove the 5 in the middle, 2 ranges. If I remove the 4, we get that. If I remove the 8, sorry, the 7, remove the 6. So only the 5 will give us 2 split ranges. So that still seems to work, right? Now if I add the 5 back in, so if I add the 6 back in, add the 5 back in, remove the 4, yeah, it seems to behave exactly as it should. All right, and now we change this. Oh wait, but range min size is 5. Did I not save this? Oh, I'm not on local. Sorry about that. I'm an idiot. I was not running the updated text. I mean the updated code. So let's try this again. One. Oh, I broke it already completely. All right, let's roll back to how it was. So, and this was in an else clause. Like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Remove the 5, get 2 ranges. Okay. And here we're just gonna say, cans. Like that. I'm curious actually if this runs for all the cells, even the ones that aren't being rendered. Yes, it is. Ooh. That's actually not great. Why would it do that? Or is it just as it goes through the replay? That's probably just as it goes through the replay, isn't it? Let's see if we can skip that. Just to make our testing a little bit smoother. Replay running is running. No. I'm sure I'm checking for that in some of those features. Anything that shouldn't render. Find replay. Replay playing. Let's check. Let's see if we can just detect replay playing true. The thing is, replay playing isn't enough. Replay playing doesn't tell us if we're actually rendering. Oh, replay playing isn't actually the thing we're looking for. That's a bit odd. It's not rendering either. All right, I'm a little fuddled right now. What are we looking for here? Puzzle. Replay. Replay. Replay playing. Why did the search... Oh, am I not searching in the right place? Okay, so it is replay playing. But it's also... I think there's a stop rendering thing going on somewhere here. Disable rendering. Disable rendering. Cell rendering. And this is on app. Okay. Oh, nope. Not the right button. So I'm just curious if there's one call when that's true. False, 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 false. True, 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 true. That is weird that there's multiple calls when that's true. That's very strange. Because shouldn't cell rendering affect if the cell is actually being rendered, right? Like, render cells. The whole thing might not work the way I imagine it should. Excuse me. We've got cell rendering being called from time to time here. The question is, why is it trying to actually redraw the cell in the first place when it's, by its own admission, not rendering cells? So let's see how that even happens. Because this code just intercepts rendering. And maybe that's why the replay is so slow right now, because maybe under the bonnet it's doing a ton of re-rendering, even when it's not supposed to be rendering anything. All right, so this actually fits into our theme for today of started optimization. And maybe that's why things have been slow lately. And it would only happen on a puzzle you've already played with a long replay. Because I remember being replay, like, if it's not being live rendered, it would be almost instantaneous. So let's not output all of that, but let's do this. And then we'll just do, I don't know, framework app. We'll just use our globals here for now. And I'm starting to think maybe, let me get a puzzle with less stuff in it so we can test a little bit more deliberately. Restart. So this is just a blank puzzle. So we have an initial render here. Excuse me. So I think we can actually output the cell content here. Sorry, this, because this gives us the row column. Shall we make a puzzle that's smaller? Let's do that. We have a test puzzle, right? We'll have a we should have a small test puzzle somewhere here. Locals tiny test puzzle. Right? And that should have only 9 cells. I'm guessing they're getting rendered more than once here. So we see row 3, 3. So we have one round of rendering and then the second round of rendering. And I'm curious when these actually happen. So let us kind of trace that back. We'll do a warn here. Hey, Laps on the Moon, how are you doing? Today we're doing some optimization of the startup times because they have been bothering me for a while now. It's been getting worse and worse. And they shouldn't be like that. Make things feel bad. All right, so we only have one call to full render. I'm gonna, since we only have, 9 calls per round, I'm gonna put a warn here just to get a stack trace, and I just want to see where these calls are coming from. So I'm gonna look at the row 1, column 1 cell. So we have puzzle start, and then we have an error check, and the error check causes a re-render. Now, the re-render itself isn't really an issue because obviously if there's nothing changed in the cell, it wouldn't actually do anything. But if cell rendering is off, in this case it isn't. All right, so it might make sense to only look at this if something is actually getting rendered. Yeah, I had the same thought, but like I have a puzzle that takes 3-4 seconds just to, because basically the way the state of the puzzle currently is restored is it plays back the whole puzzle as quickly as possible. And that used to be fast enough, but now for like a 3,000, 4,000 action puzzle, it takes 3 to 4 seconds, which is quite a while. Now, one of the things I'm gonna do is I'm probably gonna add for a puzzle over a certain number of actions, a sort of just saving the final state of the puzzle so it can restore it quickly. But at the same time, I do also want to figure out if there's something I did to make it slow. And it seems like I did something where it's apparently, even when it's not supposed to update the visuals, it is doing some of those actions. And I don't know exactly why. In fact, if I disable... that's a good test. If I disable compact pencil marks, although this is not a feature most people are using, but let's disable compact pencil marks and then just check if we still have the same startup delay. Well, with this logging on, we will definitely have it, and much slower than that, because the browser will just be busy running stack traces into the console. Ugh. And I don't want to interrupt it because it might actually break the stored state. Whoops. Ooh, that's not good. I hope that should not break the state, should it? I'm gonna kill these. Oh, all right, it's back. Except it hasn't actually refreshed anything. That's not good. That's not good. I think it's this one. Didn't it just finish? Oh my. Oh my. Oh, wait. I'm an idiot. I removed the wrong thing. I was meant to remove these. Because just outputting the stack traces, you know, for every, 1,000 times, 81 times is enough to kill Chrome. All right, here we go. So even render cells get called this many times. Really? Load replay, load replay. Why is it calling render cells so often? I mean, it shouldn't really affect it since cell rendering is disabled, right? You know, cell rendering is false and all that. All right, let's disable this as well. I think it might still be doing things in the background, but just refresh this and see what happens. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So it definitely takes its time here. And I think in the network tab, we'll be able to see it. There's this where it kind of just stalls out. It's not actually loading things. It's just stalling out because it's running that replay. I think I used to be able to tell how long it took. Because there's like a delay here. Yeah, waiting for server response, 3.4 seconds. It's so misleading. But, all right, so it's definitely doing that. All right, let's go back to our small test puzzle here. All right, so cell rendering happens once here, as it should. And if we add this back in, and what we could do is we could only trigger on, let's say, the central cell, right? So we could do something like if is equal to row 2, column 2, then output this thing. Then we only hit it once per, because obviously it's rendering all of the 9 cells here. And it's just going to spam our console too much. Yeah, so that's what I'm concerned about, is why is it executing render content 5 times? Now, I think every time I refresh it, it might actually add pause, unpause actions to the action list. So even though nothing changed on the board, and that might be something for our optimization, is that if there's no actions on the board, it just resets the timer. I'm saving the state of the board sort of as a cache while the game is running to make undos and redos faster, but I don't store it into the browser because, again, I can reproduce that state, and I don't want to bloat people's browser data too much, you know, because they start losing puzzles when they run out of their, whatever, 5 megabytes of allocation. But I did some checks, and if I compress it, it's like 700 bytes. So uncompressed, it was like about 1.5 kilobytes. So for this puzzle, I think the replay data is about 16 kilobytes. So it's about 10% of the replay data. So if I compress it, it's about 5%. So let's say if the replay is larger than a certain size, I could include the final state just to kind of speed that initial load up. But it didn't used to be like that. And I think I introduced something because while the replay is playing back, it disables re-rendering. And it's the rendering that's actually taking time. But I'm seeing this getting hit. Now here, for example, it's getting hit multiple times, and I think we actually have something in the action list. So this is gonna go a bit internals. Replay, or undo, stack. Yeah, you see, I have these unpause actions. So basically what I'm doing is, every time you start the puzzle, it's adding an unpause action to the action list. So you basically can track the time that was like, how do I say? There used to be a problem, right? So let's say if you put in a number at a certain timestamp and then waited 10 seconds or a minute and then refresh the puzzle, it would forget about that whole minute because it just would look at the actions that happened and calculate the time it took to take those actions. And it would only find, that first action after 10 seconds. So now I'm adding this additional action every time. I think I'm adding it when you're refreshing or when you're, I don't know. I don't remember, but it's basically an unpause action, which basically just says, hey, include this amount of time here. And that causes the re-render here. So we want to reset this for a second here, right? If I refresh this now, yeah, we shouldn't have an undo stack. We're still getting 4 render content calls. So that is a bit curious. So we have, okay, so we're starting here at start. We might want to track that back. And I've tracked this back before in the past, and it all made sense. And I feel like I'm wasting time again, but maybe I should document some of this as well. So we're hitting start, right? And there are a few times the puzzle will re-render during startup, and most of the time it shouldn't make a difference. Like it might initially draw an empty square before the data is loaded, then, get the replay data, render that, then does an error check after it's loaded the data, yada, 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 right? But 5 times seems like a lot. So let's check the first time. The first time we're in start, line 5239, right? So this is very, very inaccurate, actually, right? It's a promise chain. I might actually improve this sort of stuff. And I want to do a few streams like that where I'm just refactoring and cleaning up code because I've not given myself the time to do that. And I'm always suffering from it because, I'm not adding any feature. I'm doing hours of work. I need to do lots of testing to make sure it's good, But over time, I think it'll be beneficial. So we're loading the puzzle. And then we're running check at line 2. Did I just do something? 2719. But this got called from 2061. 2061. So, yeah, so for example, here what I'm doing is actually, I'm using the check function. Yeah, you see, this is one of those cases where, interesting. So I'm actually, while I'm loading the puzzle, after I've set up the cages, I run an error check to see if the blank initial puzzle contains any errors in the cages, which lets me which lets the puzzle understand that these cages aren't standard cages, and it lets it change how it handles conflict checking, right? So it basically detects violations in the original data according to standard rules and lets it disable certain rule checking. But of course, this doesn't need to do a re-render, right? So cell rendering should definitely be off during the loading process. Let's implement that, right? There's no reason why we should be rendering stuff. And let's do this on a fresh here. Cell rendering equals. So it should really start with cell rendering false, I would say. And then it should enable cell rendering sometime during the loading process when it's basically ready to render stuff. Exactly. So that's what we're going to look at right now. So you see, cell rendering is false. Now it's still rendering stuff, so that's a little concerning. And I think currently cell rendering doesn't actually stop the cells themselves from rendering. It stops the app from re-rendering the cells at a certain place, right? We have disable rendering. So we have a call render cells, and render cells is basically, it's basically a call to just tell the app, okay, refresh everything, right? And this is currently where cell rendering is being, I don't know, it's being set. Where is it actually being considered? So that's a good question. Where is cell rendering actually being used to do anything? Apparently nowhere. What the hell? Cell rendering? This is not possible, is it? Is cell rendering just not being used? Disable rendering sets it to false. Render cell sets it to true. Okay, that is horrible. I'm wondering if I screwed that up somewhere. Or if I just never had that. So let's see if we can do that. So if we search for cell rendering, like that, what does it find? Because it would be interesting to see if that used to work. Refactor cell.render content. Can I just look at this particular... If I go to a commit hash, can I just go to this one? And then search for cell rendering. Oh my god. Because I remember doing a refactor of this 3 weeks ago, not too long ago, and it looks like I must have just forgotten about that line. That's just terrible. Well, it's both terrible and great. It's terrible because holy crap, and great that, hey, it still mostly works. It's just crappy performance for a lot of people. Because what I did was I actually took the rendering off the cells and split them up into subfunctions because it was just one giant monolithic function and it didn't enable, it made certain things really difficult. So I split them all out. So we have our rendered content and now it kind of splits it out into these subfunctions. But where did we check here? We checked here at the beginning of render content, like right at the start, really. Render content. It literally used to be the first thing it does. Holy moly. If I just put that back in. Unexpected template add string. 860. Did I must have pressed a key while my cursor was somewhere. Um, 860 render proper pen. There we go. Okay. Now remember, this took about 3 or 4 seconds. Well, it's faster despite me actually doing this here. And I'm doing also that. Second, let me just go back to find render cells. Okay. One. Yeah, look at that, how much faster that is now. So let's time that, I guess. Let's time that. Let's time it over in this one. Replay, play. Replay, play. Replay, play, done. So if we do console.time. Replay, play. And then end it here. It now takes 497 milliseconds. Holy moly. So we've added this line. Let's take this line out again. 1, 2, 3. 3.3 seconds. Wow. Okay. We're gonna put that immediately into an update right now. Holy moly. This I'm tempted to leave in because that's all. No, I should really have like a debug mode with a debug flag, and then I can have things like that that are sitting in there. This I'm actually going to to temporarily like I'm gonna undo that. And then I'm just gonna push this on its own. I'm not gonna do the cell rendering disabled by default for now. Because I don't want to have to test for the side effects of that. So we're gonna just undo all of this. This is gonna be an info again. So now this should be the only change. Come on. Yep. And here we're going to just copy this temporarily. Put that here. And then we're just gonna revert the changes on this one. And then we're just gonna version that. And that's actually a kind of major change, so I'm going to actually give it a, well, minor change. I'm just realizing you're on separate platforms and don't see each other's chat. So Lapis on the Moon is over on YouTube and Miss Ella Kitty's over on... This is JavaScript. This is all good old JavaScript. So, yeah, that basically fixes the problem. Now, we still have the 450 milliseconds, which is nothing. And that's like for a very long puzzle. Like most of the puzzles are much shorter than that. But this is definitely something that I accidentally did not keep after the refactor. So I did this refactor and I basically, that one line of code just... So, I'm just going to put that in here quickly as fix... where was it? Fixed handling of in-cell.render content. I believe that's where the change is. Cell. It is in... Where is it? Cell.render contents. Find.render contents. Nope, content. That's why I was confused. Render content. App.cell rendering. All right. And we're just gonna push that right away before we do anything else. Okay. Because the key inside. All right, I'm gonna handle it off stream. Why is it still struggling with that? But anyway, so now let's get our changes back from here. So that should bring this back. And now, we're not gonna worry about performance for this part. We're just gonna make the change that I've been wanting to do, which is changing it from 4 to 5. So I should be 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, okay. Oh, wait, I disabled it, didn't I? Compact bounce one's on, yeah. So 7, 6, 5, 4. So it still does it on 4. So we have the candidates here. And then... So, I just gotta get some insight in what exactly is going on here. Right, let's give me some more of that console. So 1, 4, and then here, because Arlen wouldn't have incremented here. We'd go around and then we'd exit here. Yeah, I still don't understand why this is happening. But first, before I can... You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can get rid of this duplication of this code first before I'm going to do this. So I'm going to go back to how this code was, which was basically just greater than 3, I believe, right? This is all just console logging here. And now can just show this and this. And then we can show that, call that 1, call that 2. We'll show it down here as well. So that's Arlen 2. So that's on the outside. Now if I do 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and if I remove the 5 in the middle, I'll get 2 ranges. So candidates, like, let's say we have candidates 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. We start looping through them here. And len should be, yeah, candidates.length, yeah. So that should loop through all the candidates. So the first one should be Arlen 1, and the second one should be Arlen 2. Okay. Now the question is, after I did the increment here, why can't I run that code right there? I think the problem is, yeah, so if I run this code outside of the else, it would hit 4 digits and immediately start pushing, even though more digits were to come. So if I add a check in here, just to see if we're at the end of the thing. So this should always happen if this is true. And then this should only happen if this is false, or we're on the final digit. So I'm thinking if we invert this, it'll be easier. Yeah. So we're gonna say, if the digit is not equal to this, right? Then we'll do this. Else, we just increment. So that should be equivalent, right? Because we just inverted this equality here. So yep, that should be like that. But now what we can say, we can also check if we've hit the final item, right? So we can also say something like, so I/Arlen 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So Arlen starts over here at 1. Because we're starting a new range, right? Arlen is the range length. And we're just going through the candidates here. So what we can also do is I smaller than len here. That should tell us if we're on the final item. So, or not on the final item, right? And smaller than length. I is 7 and length is 8. Yeah, so I gets wait a second. So I gets incremented. Let's get rid of the Arlen for a sec here. And then I after. I'm just curious. I don't remember my for loops properly. So I after is 8. So the I gets incremented first. And then we're exceeding it. Okay, so we have to check if it's smaller than len minus 1 to know if we're in the... I just closed the file, didn't I? Yeah, let's get rid of that. If we're in the final iteration, right? No, we don't need a comma because basically without this feature, it would just show the digits one after the other, no comma separation. So that's fine. Basically, without the feature, it looks like this, right? This is the default. Where is it? It's under advanced, I believe. No, is it under experimental? Yeah, it's under experimental because it's not really ready yet. This is the normal display, right? And I'm basically just, somebody suggested we could compactify that with a little basically collapsing of a range, right? Now, they probably didn't imply that this would happen for multiple ranges. They probably thought just if there's just one range, if there's no range, you know. But I thought I'll be clever and kind of do this sort of thing. Now, if I increase the minimum range length to 5, this would never happen. You'd never be able to have two ranges because there's enough space in the digits 1 through 9. But for now, I just want to fix this little code repetition because then, you know, it just feels wrong. Right, so on the final iteration, this is false. So if we're on the final iteration here, and we're starting... Wait, so if we're starting a new iteration... sorry, a new range... Then we gotta deal with the prior range, right? Now, if we're on the final iteration, we don't actually care. We don't care if we're starting a new range or not. Right? We just might have to... Do we have to increase our... No, we still have to execute this code ahead of time. All right, so let's do this a little bit more strategically, right? So we're going to say let is range continues equals this. We're just going to have a flag because then we can reuse the flag. So range continues if this is equal, right? Continues, right? Then we'll say if range continues, we'll do rlang plus plus. So now we've handled our ranges, right? Now, if the range doesn't continue, we need to take care of the prior ranges and see if they're long enough, yada, 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 right? We'll say if not range continues, we'll do all of that. So that's equivalent to our original if-else statement. The difference now is we also want to take care of the range if, and you know, we don't care that we just continued, if we're on the final iteration, if we're about to finish the for loop, right? And that will happen if rlen is, no, if I just deleted that. No, if this is true, right? So if not range continues, or I is smaller than len minus 1, then this should never be necessary. We should be able to take care of both things. And now I obviously have to re-enable the... Oh, it is on. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah, because if we're not dealing with the range, we still need to do this, and this needs to happen. God damn it. Let me think. If this is true, this needs to happen. My brain. There must be a better way of doing this. This is the simplest way of just copying the 2 lines and doing a second check at the end, right? Just checking if there's an unhandled range. Because we have 3... Well, we don't have 3 cases, but basically... So if we have this and range continues here, and we can do I and rlang, and range continues in this log, right? Right. So if I go here and I add 2, why is it running through here twice? This is a little bit odd. Why is this happening twice here? If I clear this, if I even select this, it'll rerun that code. I added a 4, and it's actually happening twice. Why is it happening twice? It's rendering twice. Probably it renders once when you input, and then a second time when you're doing the error check. That's probably something we can optimize. We can probably do... We can hold the rendering until after the error check. But the error check shouldn't actually recall this rendering algorithm because we're already checking if there's a change on that, I think. Anyway, now what I'm looking at. With the 5 taking out, it wouldn't... Oh, okay. So, I'm just getting distracted, right? So what happens here? We're doing one loop. Range continuous is false. So let's just... What's happening here? Rlen is less than equals to... So, I1, Rlen is 1, false. So this is iteration. We're starting at 1. We're skipping the first one altogether because the first digit is just the first digit, right? Why are we never hitting the second digit, though? Length is 2. Oh, yeah, of course, because we're starting at 1, right? So we have 2 digits. We're skipping the first one. We get into the second one. So, if not range continues, we have to finish that. We can just do if I smaller than console.log final iteration. Right. So we are in the final iteration. Rlen is not greater than 3. So afterwards here, we should have something pushed into ranges. Because this should hit. Rlen is greater than this. So this should be false. R start. Let's also... so Rlen 1. Just ignore that for a sec. Let me indent that. Let me just put that here. That's our signal that we're at the end of the thing. So what happens? Wait a second. So we're getting to the 4. Rlen didn't get incremented. R start, J smaller than I. Okay, so this only goes to the one before the current J. Wait a second. Is that correct? Let's write this out. My brain, I don't know. It's not cooperating. Handle singles from to So we're handling singles from R start to I. So this should just loop through all of them now. By the way, let me know if the audio isn't quite right and whatnot. I'm constantly messing with my audio setup. From 0 to 1, but shouldn't that include... It doesn't include I. Because we're hitting I1. We have 2 candidates, so we're on the second candidate. R start, J smaller than I. So we're skipping I. Oh, because then here we presume that I would be... Because we're after the final round, and I would be larger by 1. So, man, I feel like I have to handle it. I still have that case. Man, I feel like I'm this close to just getting it properly. This should have looped. Oh, loop it. Here we go. Oh man, I'm tempted to just go back to this one. Or if I just need to use the other kind of loop. Because I don't want to do many checks. Oh, which iteration are we on? What do we need to do? It should just bloody work, right? So basically what I want to do is in the first part of the loop, I want to handle what we're doing with the current item. And in the second part of the loop, this part, we want to do the thing, right? So at this point here, we know if the range has continued, right? So if the range doesn't continue, we need to push the range if it's large enough, which is this check. And maybe we should do that separately before we do anything else. Because if we're not exceeding rlen greater than 3, then we have to do all the single stuff, right? The thing is, why was I excluding the current digit in the prior algorithm? Because prior, we weren't doing these simultaneously, right? So we were already on the next iteration. So we needed to handle the previous iteration. So I think it's fair to... The problem is, right, if we're not at the end of the iteration, the current item could be the next range. So we don't want to handle it just yet, right? So we really kind of want to go one further, except we kind of don't. It feels like I should be doing a while loop, right? Like, or instead of starting on the second element, if we start on the first one and look one ahead, then we could say, hey, if there's no elements to look ahead, let me think. If I start on the first element, let's say we have 3 elements, right? I can say, okay, second element, are we still part of a range? Yes, no. Then now we're on the second element, we're looking at the third element. Is the third element part of this range? Yes, no. Yes, it is. Now we're on the third element, we're looking ahead and say, oh, we have no more elements. Okay, handle the current range and or handle them as singles. Maybe that's the better way of going. So we know if the range will continue before it actually continues, right? And then at the current element is always one that we can deal with, rather than the potential start of the next range, right? Okay, all right. So that means we gotta start at 0 here, and our rlen is 0. Now I'm almost wondering, do I want to pre-process these elements so I don't have to run parseInt? Hey, Shelby, a million times. So our start is our range start. And our len is 0. So obviously on the first element, our len doesn't make sense. Okay. And this... we could actually, you know, our start... I'm just thinking if we can pre-calculate that. No, because we need our start as an index value that we can iterate from. Yeah, we need to know where actually our start is. All right, so our start is 0. So right now we want to have 2 elements. I'm just gonna write it out really slow, and then I'm gonna speed it up, right? So the current one is no, we need our start. Cancel our start, or start val. Just gonna call it v0, right? And then v1 is the next one. This is a parse int, right? And the next one is going to be I plus 1, right? Actually, yeah, so do we even need our start anymore? Yes, we do, right? Because we're not comparing if it's the same, we're comparing if it's rlen away from our start, right? So we're not concerning ourselves with the current element. Is that right? Yeah, because the current element should have already been considered in the prior iteration. And in a way that has by being our start. Right. So it's not I plus 1, it's rlen plus 1. Right? And then we can say... And I'm just gonna not do any of this stuff for a second here. Right? In fact, what we're gonna do is actually we're gonna work on this algorithm in a more reasonable fashion. So we have a fast iteration. We're just gonna do a little environment here. That'll be a lot faster. Right? So our candidates is just going to be an array of whatever, right? And we're just going to work with integers. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, right? So we're going to do that. We can skip the parse ints. And then we're just going to here go, hold on, we're just going to I, v0, v1. And I just can run that here in the console, nice and quick. So we can see, okay, candidates. So we have I, we have r start, rlen plus 1. Yeah, and rlen doesn't get incremented, so we're always looking at, and I'm just gonna do this. I think if I do D, or is it N? I don't remember. Could be N. I'm just gonna do this quickly. And then V0 equals V1 equals D. I don't know if it's D or N. Looks like it's D. All right. So rlen plus 1 is that. Start is 0. So we're always comparing elements 0 and 1. So if equals... So if this plus that is the current candidate, right? So if r start 0 plus rlen plus 1, which is 1, is equal to the current candidate. No, sorry. If v0 is 1 plus this is equal to... Yeah, okay. So now we can say if v0 plus rlen plus 1 equals v1, console.log, expand range. Right? So that's rlen, rlen plus plus. So for now, we're just going to expand range. We're just going to see what that looks like. And I find this kind of hard to read. So I'm going to change this to I/r_start/rlen. That's just going to be like that. And we're going to do something similar for v0/v1. And we're just going to indent this quickly here. Get rid of these. We're just going to get rid of that. Going to help me to parse this mentally. Oh, I'm going to get rid of the timing information because I only had that on. I assumed we were going to do a lot of timing stuff. And we did. We did. We'll get back to it later. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We should get up to an rlen of 4. Expand range 1, 2, 3. So we've expanded range 4 times. So we're gonna do r start/rlen. So this is when we've expanded our range, right? So expand range, r start rlen 0, 3. So we have a range starting at 0 of length 3. I think we can make start... Yeah, ranges are always at least 1. So we can start with rlen equals 1. And we don't have to increment by 1 here. Right? Because you can't have a range smaller than 1 element. And we can actually combine these. Like that. Makes our logging a little bit more compact. Right. So, we're expanding range. Eventually we have a range that starts at 0 and is 4 elements long. And that's the range 1 through 4. Now, when we're not expanding the range, do we immediately quit? Yes, we do, right? So here we'll do else. If we're not expanding the range, we've not hit our, we need to close range, right? Close range. And we'll just output that information as, nope, don't save that. Just gonna run that here. So we want to close the range at 0, 4. And we're gonna close out the range by setting our start. So we have a range of 4 elements. At this point, I is 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So our start is actually gonna be I plus 1. So our start equals I plus 1. And rlen is 1, yeah. Because we're kind of skipping the first element, right? And the problem is... we're gonna go to the next element here. So we don't actually... we don't actually want to reset our start here. Ah, no, but if we set rlen to 0, it'll work out, because rlen will be 0, the element will be equal to itself, we're incrementing length by 1, and we're starting the next range, right? Why does that not work for the first element? I don't know. So, expand range, close range. We're starting a new range, so the next time round, I is 4, r start is 4, and rlen is 0. And it wants us to close range. Why? Because... yeah, no, this is... It shouldn't be rlen this. It should be... It should be the current one, right? Whatever I is. Yeah. So, we're comparing it 1, 2, 3. Now I is 4. And I'm gonna change these. So, well, never mind. So after 4, we've expanded the range here. Now we're closing the range because we're looking at 6. Except we shouldn't be looking at 6. We're looking at I 4. And confusing myself as usual. Let's see. This is the most basic stuff. Sometimes I don't understand my brain. All right, so we're at 4. So now we're at element 4. We've expanded the range. The range now should be starting at element 1, which doesn't make sense. Why is r start 1? Expand range. rlen. Why does r start increment here? Why did the range get closed on the first element? Oh, did we have the same problem here? So maybe I was right after all. rlen should be 0. R start shouldn't be I plus 1. All right, I think this might be it. So we're starting out. We're comparing the element to itself. It matches. We're increasing the range. We have a range. The range is now 1 element long. So we keep expanding the range until we hit element 4. which is a value 6, which doesn't expand the range. So we're now closing the existing range, which started at 0 and is 4 elements long. So 0 and 4 elements. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we're starting a new range. We're closing the range and we're starting a new range on the next item when we're looking at 7. Because now our start is 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why is our R start 5? Because I set it to I plus 1, but no. Because we're closing, oh man, we're closing the range when the current element is no longer part of the range. So I thought I was supposed to be looking at the next element. I feel like I'm doing this wrong again. Because now we still have that problem that at the very last item, we're not actually closing the range, right? So expanding the range is really where we don't care too much. So let's hide that. Let's hide that. And what if I also say, or the one problem basically I'm thinking about is when we're hitting the last item might still be part of the range. So what if we do this, right? Let expand range equals this. And that's completely misspelled. Dyslexia for the win, right? So if expand range, rlen plus plus. Right? And now if either not expand range or we're on the final item. This is I smaller than len minus 1. We can do let is last. We can just put them both in one line, right? And this should have expanded the range, and now that should be able to handle the items and the things, right? Now, if we're closing the range, yeah, we don't care. At this point, we don't care if it's big enough or not, because then that other if statement handles that, right? So close range. We're closing range on everything. Is last is always true. I is greater or equal to len minus 1. Okay, so false, 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 false. True. At I 6. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Close range, start length. Okay. Now, when we're closing range, we're actually going to output the range, right? And we don't care about, the length of the range at this point. So it's cans.slice rstart rlen. Or is it rstart plus rlen? I never know. Range cans. For candidates, short for candidates, right? So close range. Boom. And I think we can just put that there. So we're closing range 1 through 4. And then we're closing range with nothing. That seems wrong. for length 0. Why is it 0? I almost feel like our length should always be incremented at this point. 1 second. So expand range depends on v0 plus rlen equal. So expand range. I think we can just tack that on here at the end. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to out this. I'm just going to put this whole formula in here. Kind of like that. I'm just going to put the values next to them. So I can visualize what's going on here. So that's v0, rlen, v1, and we actually do want to, we kind of want to, what are these two together? You know what, I'm just going to change the syntax here. And now I'm going to try my best not to confuse myself any further. So now I can also output the sum of these two here. And that's just v0 plus rlen. Like that. And now, okay, we have our 1, 2, 3, 4 here. So the next time around, what do we get? v0 is false. What? Doesn't make sense. What do you mean v0 is false? Huh? Oh, expand range. That should be at the end. I'm just gonna separate these out. Nope. All right, so expand range false. So this is the first time we're not expanding the range, right? So v0 is equal to 1. That doesn't sound right. Why is r start? All right, let's get rid of the v0 thingamajiggle here. So we're just going to do this and put the value of r start in here and the value of can's r start out there. So the first value is r start. The second value is can's r start. Right? The next value is rlen. And then the third value is these two added together. And then v1 is can's I. Right? And we'll have I here. And the value of can's I here. So that'll be I and can's I. Confusion be gone. All right, so close range 1, 2, 3, 4. On the next step, we're now at I5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So after we've closed the range, r start should be set to I. So after closing range, r start is 4. R start was set to I when we closed the range. Should it be set to I plus 1? I think so, because it all depends actually if we're expanding the range or not, right? If we're expanding the range, if we're expanding the range, rlen increments. If we're not expanding the range, we're resetting these two values, but we still have to handle the current range first. The problem is last is a very different situation here. Is that really messing me up so much? And that's why we wanted to look ahead, isn't it? Why did I stop looking ahead? I don't remember now. All right, let's get rid of V0 and V1. That's just confusing me. So this is just cans are start. And this is cans I. Now, we actually want to look at I plus 1, right? So, if we're setting up rlen to 1, we're going to that plus 1 that. Oh man, my brain. So, I just want to be in a situation. All right, you know what? I feel like I'm wasting way too much time on something really stupid. I think I'm going to go back to just doing it again at the end. And then maybe I'll just think about it on my own time, because I feel like I'm wasting everybody's time here. And it's really not worth it. This is like a very simple, small algorithm. So let's get rid of all of that. We started at 1 here. My god, what a waste of time. Yeah, but it's a very simple thing, and it's annoying me that I'm wasting everybody's time, you know, and it's on stream. Paper doesn't translate very well on stream. So we'll just go back to how it was, because that worked fine. We just did that and that. Yeah, I got rid of that. Like that. Got rid of that and that. I had that working. We didn't have these. We had this. Else. Nope. Nope. I saw you switch something on me here. All right. Our start is supposed to start on 0. Fair enough. All right. So the question is, if I change this to 4 and this to 4, will it work with a range of 5 now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 7. Yeah. So that's working. So we can now do this. And we want to be the number be the actual size of the range, right? If this is back to 4, I just feel bad that this code is identical in 2 places, and it's just my brain just, no, I can't do that. It's like we have to invert this, and we probably have to loop in it. Anyway. Because I think we might have to run this code twice on the last item. So if the last item isn't part of the range, we have to run it once here, then start the new range, and then we have to run it again, you see? And I think that's the problem, because this does not handle the current item. It handles the prior items that have been passed. So we'd almost have to loop one more time, but then check if we're on the last loop or not, right? So this code should be at the end and checking the next item before all of this happens. And that's what I was trying to do, but it wasn't working out for me. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. All right. So that works with 4, and if we change it to 5, I mean, this is really all we wanted to do. 5, and now we don't get that double thing anymore. We don't get two. Whoops. What was that? I press. Maybe I pressed backspace by mistake. All right. Yeah. And we just get rid of this. So that's really the only change, just to make that configurable. That's all this little change was supposed to do. And it you know, on the plus side, it did reveal to us the other problem. Ah, wait, maybe we can still do 2 ranges. 6, 7, 8, 9. Why can't we do 2 ranges? Because we added... because we added 2, yeah, 2 times 4 is 10, and we, yeah, okay. We can't do 2 ranges, even with 11 characters. Alright. Yeah. Alright. Yeah, that's probably what I need to do, but I'm not gonna waste everybody's time with that. It's such a small, simple thing. I just want to get rid of this repeat here. But it does actually need to be called, well, man, now you're making me think about it. No, this is not what the stream is about. This is a super tiny minor change. I'm just gonna bump that version head, push it in. And that'll be it. And then we can move on to the actual performance optimization. In feature compact marks. Increased group range size to 5. All right. That's it. That's all I wanted to do. So that's done. Now this is the thing that we actually need to worry about, right? So I've added the code already that shows this, but I'm still slightly concerned about people basically being... First of all, people could have much longer replays than me, right? And secondly, people might click on the puzzle, enter something, and it might mess up the replay. So I was thinking of just putting a loading overlay. But if we add the final state as a cached item, maybe we can just make it fast enough that won't be an issue. That's always my preference, right? I don't really like loading screens. So, I mean, loading screens do help because obviously there could be bandwidth limitations. Some of these puzzles can be pretty big, especially if in the future when we're adding remote hosting and, you know, accessing them with other things than just URL data. But anyway, so my thought is, because we're currently caching internal state, so if I look at app.puzzle.stateStack, right? So we have these states. So every configurable number of actions, we're caching the whole puzzle state. And let me make sure we're not pending anything here. All right. So let's have a quick look at that setting. So actions per state is 100. So every 100 actions, we're saving the state. And let's have a quick go through these. Does have an ID, but we could skip the ID. And it's basically mostly this, right? So let's just do something where we're gonna do a little bit of code here. And we'll just do framework.app. .puzzle.stateStack.map. And we're just gonna map each state to the size of its JSON representation, right? So JSON on stringy by state scat dot length dot sort. I'll just do that. I think that should give us the info that I'm looking for. Yeah. So the largest state we have is 1,000 bytes, and the smallest one is 996. And if I go to a puzzle with a shorter state stack, something like this, yeah, you see, or a simpler puzzle representation, you know, they're smaller, right? And we can compress them as well. Yeah, the code is such a big mess, though, that I'd rather do it in smaller increments. I mean, I've done a fairly good job of compartmentalizing stuff, so I think the process of refactoring smaller parts of it should really yield a lot, because I kind of left... I know where the messes are, and I've kind of put fences around them, you know? So hopefully it's not going to be too terrible. We can compress this data. I mean, it's designed kind of to be fairly compact already. So if I look at these, like if I get rid of the ID, I don't know how much that is. Pen color. I mean, it actually stores... No, it doesn't actually need that other information. It needs like things like pen color, because that's actually global state that needs to be preserved. All right, let's not mess with it too much. So if I do this, and I'll just compress it with lzip, right? Load fpuzzle.compress, which is my current de facto compression algorithm. If we're compressing this, and then do this, it goes up to 724. So 724, and the replay data, I think, is... get replay. The replay data is, yeah, 16 kilobytes. So I think adding 1 kilobyte, or half a kilobyte even, what was it? Adding... No, that's without the compression. Ah, here with compression. Yeah, 700. So less than a kilobyte. So we're adding... That's less than 5% size. I think that's worth it. And we can always say, hey, only do it if it's larger than a certain number of actions. Because if we have a puzzle with fewer actions, it won't take nearly as long to run the replay, right? So if we look at... replay play, and we'll do what we looked at earlier. .time puzzle.replay play, and we'll just time this out on a smaller puzzle. And my computer is not like super powerful. It's like 7-8 years old now, so I mean, you know, it's not bad, but like my phone probably would have similar performance, to be honest. So yeah, here's 40 milliseconds, so no biggie. And on this puzzle, it's 600 milliseconds. I mean, earlier we saw it at 400 milliseconds, so we see there's a bit of a variance here. And the number of actions in the replay, we can just, I think, can do this. I think if I do this, it'll give me a number of actions for the replay. Yeah, 924 and 3,771. So we can calculate roughly, you know, just over 10 milliseconds per action. I think that's realistic. Here it's more than that. Let's just do a... I'm just gonna actually pull the time out and kind of divide it. As time per action. I think that should give us the milliseconds per action on average. Yeah, and if I invert that, I should get actions per millisecond, right? It does have. It actually does have. Or I actually experiment. My God, ages ago, I implemented a scrubble bar. So I wanted to be able to scrub through a scrubble bar is basically the seek bar on a media player. So I wanted to seek through the puzzle like a video, and part of me wanted to make the replay action fast enough to do that. And to be honest, with the caching, so this is uncached, right? But I'm creating those every 100 replay actions. I'm creating a cached state, so that I can actually fast forward through them quite quickly. So when it does an undo, it doesn't have to start from the beginning. It has to start from the most recent state and replay all the states -1, you know, that kind of thing. This is milliseconds per action, which is not useful. We're going to invert it. So we're going to do actions per millisecond. It's just 1 over, right? So that's 7.5 actions per millisecond. Oops. Nope, that's the same puzzle. So this is 6 actions per millisecond, 6.6 actions per millisecond, and this is 6. Yeah, so we have around 6 to 7. Let's say 7 to be safe. 6 to be safe, right? 6 actions per millisecond. So we can say basically, hey, if more than n actions, you know, we can have a rough indicator of, well, obviously this is my computer. I probably should run this on something slower as well to compare. Actually, one thing I can try, I mean, I don't think it's gonna make a difference. Oh, and we won't have the replay here, right? I just want to see if this is a useful way of benchmarking a browser, basically. So I copy this, right? And then I'll say framework.app.load replay. Replay.play.decode this. Please type allow pasting below. Oh, Jesus Christ. 1 second. I hate when browsers treat us like idiots, but then a lot of people are idiots, so I guess it is a good thing in the end. You know, while I'm here, I'm also gonna time this thing. Ah, wait, no, it's gonna get timed anyways, isn't it? All right. Allow pasting. Allow pasting. Is that enough? Is that gonna let me paste something in a console now? Jeez. Jeez Louise. All right, looks like we have the replay in here now. 7.4 milliseconds, so that seems slower. But it could just be, you know, caching and so on and so forth. Yeah, 6.9. 8.2. It seems slower. 7.5. 6.8. 7.3. Not by much. Oh, 4 milliseconds. Holy. That's fast. I wonder what determines that. Anyway, but we could use that potentially to do additional testing. Okay. So say if there's a new speed go for market. Something like that, yeah. But to be honest, maybe the space, I mean, it's 1 kilobyte per puzzle. I don't know. I don't have a lot of data of like, there might be people out there who have tens of thousands of puzzles that they play. I don't know. If they play, you know, 10, 20 puzzles a day over 2 years, it'll add up quickly, right? I don't know how many I have in my local storage. How's it go? Local storage dot get items get key. I don't actually know. Local storage all keys. Can I just loop through the keys? Object.keys local storage. Object.keys local storage. That doesn't sound like it would give me the keys of the, nah, maybe. Filter key.match progress underscore. So that should give me the number of Yeah, so for example, I have 479 puzzles in my local storage. So that's not that many, really. That's 500 kilobytes if we add 1 kilobyte each. Now, that being said, of course, if I go here and check the length of the data on each of these, so we'll filter them, then we'll map them. We'll get the item, and then we'll get the length. And then we do concat cur. No, wait. Cur accumulator acc plus cur 0. And that should give us the sum of the sizes of all of the items. Just get. All right. Forgot to pass the key in. If I do this and comment this out just to make sure I got the rest right. Yeah, that's a bunch of numbers, right? And I might have mixed current accumulator up. I always mix them up. Always. And concat, what? No. Reduce. I don't know what's going on with me today. I'm not even that tired or anything. My brain is just... Alright, so it's 1.7 megabytes for 500 puzzles. But I'm maybe not the most prolific player, right? Because I spend all my time working and testing and so on. So there might be people who play, you know, plenty of puzzles every day. So I have to be a bit careful, you know? Because there might only be a limit of 5 megabytes of storage, right? And if I'm adding 1 kilobyte per puzzle, you know. But let's just work out the code for now. So we've got a bunch of information about size. That's all fine. Let's see how easy it would actually be to add the state, the current last, whatever, final state to our saved data, right? So for that, we gotta go where we're saving progress, and we gotta see when we're saving progress, and it's saving get progress here. And get progress is this. Now, besides progress, state stack dot push, we have this dot create state. So if we go here, replay, and then we'll add state, we can do this, and that should add the final state to the puzzle. Now, one of the problems is, because I was thinking if I could just inject it into the state stack. The problem with that is that the state stack probably relies on the position within the stack. So if I just have one item in the stack, it figures that's the state at position 100 in the action queue, not the last state, right? And if I add blank states into the stack, we might have a different kind of problem, right? Because actually, yeah, because I'm trying to think what the replay does for me. Because the problem is, yeah, so I need to run through the replay anyways, because it doesn't just get me the board position, it also gets me the undo and redo data. And basically what's happening is that the replay data itself contains all the actions you've taken, while during gameplay, that is not actually how the game holds onto information, right? The undo stack and redo stack are separate data structures, and they get generated by the combination of the actions and undo and redo operations. So without running through the replay, you know. So there's a couple of ways approaching this. I could use the final state stack information simply as a sort of placeholder, right? So I can pop that onto the screen. So basically right now, it shows you the blank board for a little bit. So instead of showing you the blank board for half a second, it would show you the filled board for half a second. while it's still running the full replay in the background. That's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it would be to figure something out where I basically push it onto the state stack and have all the, like, in the correct position, and have all the prior data undefined in the array, and then have it handle that situation here. Although I'm not quite sure that's possible, because I think... I don't think that's how I'm using the state stack here. Basically, I'd have to say, hey, if it's undefined, you know, because instead of looking at the length of the state stack, I would look at the content. And the problem with that is it still doesn't give us the intermediary data. So I think we'll just have to go on to restoring that state. Now, let's see where that actually happens. So we have state stack, state stack, state stack, and last time, state stack. Because mostly it's being used for undo, right? Log undo action. So we have execute undo. So this is where we're doing an undo. And basically, we're figuring out what action we need to get to here. We're clearing the puzzle. But now... last state dot actions state stack pop is greater than undo stack dot length. That's just the number of actions in that state, I imagine. Let's just here. Nope. So each of these state stacks basically has a number of actions. Yeah, so that's tells us where we should be. And while last state stack undo rest apply state. So we're finding the last state stack, and then we're applying the state. Because one of the problems is the replay actually interacts with the board. So if I pop that state stack into the board and then run the replay on top of that, it's actually going to be a bad data. Yeah. So this might be harder than I thought. I mean, this improvement that we did, going from 4 seconds to 500 milliseconds, is already a huge improvement. Because I'm wondering, how big are all of these state stacks, right? Because this gave us the size. No, that's loading the replay. This gave us the sizes of the different stacks, right? Now, without compression, here, without compression, it gives us these numbers, right? Now, if we run these through, our reduce function, that should give us the total size of these stacks. If I use the right syntax, which is not a given. So that's 29 kilobytes. But what if we compress the whole thing? So what if we compress and stringify not one state, but the entire state stack? And just, I don't know if that's enough, right? Because like I said, the replay does not include undo and redo stacks. And I don't know. So, man. One sec. So if I look at framework.app.puzzle.undo stack, we have 3,300 actions on the undo stack. We have redo stack which might actually not be big, right? Because the redo stacks only get generated if you undo actions. So if unless you're undoing actions towards the end of the puzzle to get back to a finished thing, you're not even going to have a redo stack. I need to refresh my brain here. When we're creating, so this isn't going to be the solution that I thought. It's not going to be the easy solution that I thought it would be. Replay.encode this.puzzle. So replay encode. So what does it take? It looks at the replay stack. We have undo stack, and we have the replay stack. So the undo stack here is shorter than the replay stack. Yeah, because the replay stack includes any time I undid and redid. And the undo stack is actually shorter than the replay stack, but you need both. The question is there a fast way of extracting this from that? Basically what I'm wondering is, if I have the final state of the puzzle, can I regenerate the rest of it without going through the replay stack, right? Can I basically do an analytical operation on the data, on the action data in the replay to extract the undo stack? And I probably can, right? I can probably just go through there and every time there's an undo or redo action, I kind of, you know, add and remove some things, but I don't actually need to execute all the actions because I know what the state of the board is. This is starting, but the thing is, it's starting to get a little complicated. For what? For, you know, less than half a second of time savings? So I fixed that one bug, so that's big. But what do I do next? Do I try to waste time to potentially add a lot of complexity and storage for saving half a second here? I think I don't want to do that. I think instead I'm going to see if I can do something useful in terms of refactoring certain bits. Because some of the code is a little old-fashioned and could use a little bit of a facelift. So let's get rid of this stuff. 2, 6, 3, 6. Now I'm tempted to leave the replay timing in. At least the raw time logging. But only if it doesn't get hit all the time. So let's do something here. Let's go here. Pop up a little puzzle from Sudoku Solver NL, where I have a little thingamajig that grabs me a puzzle from there. And I'm just going to play through it quickly. Yep. So I'm just going to play through this quickly with this timing information on to see how often that gets hit. And then I might leave it in just for the near future. All right, so 7s. We've got a bunch of 7s, so they're probably quite limited. One here, one here. There's one in those two. None here, none here. Definitely one here. One of these two. And finally, there can't be one here, one of these 3. We have a bunch of 6s. So there's a 6 here and... Whoop. 6 here and here. And I think I didn't place the 7s where I wanted to. Yeah. 6s. So 6 here, 6 here. 6 here, here. 3s, I'm seeing 2. Not super helpful. 9s, I'm seeing a couple. There's one here. There's definitely one on this box. Ah, there's one with a 3. So that's a 3-9 pair, which makes this a 4-8 pair, which is resolved. And we have a 2-4 and a 9 over here. And 3-9, so there's no 9 here. Other than that, we have a 1, a 4, and an 8. That's the 4. Okay, so these two are now 5 and 7, I believe. And that makes these two 2 and 9. And these two are 1, 5, 8. Okay. I'm seeing a couple of 5s. All right. Gets us somewhere. We have 5 here, 5 here, 7 here, 7 here, and here. 5 here. All right. Ones. Here and here. So 1 up here. That's a 1. And that's not a 1. So that's not a 1, that's a 1. That means that's a 1. That's a 1. That's a 5. 8, 5, 1, 5. I think they're all done now. 2. 3. Seeing anything super. Ah, that's actually helpful. Actually, these 3 are very limited already. No, that's not right. 1, 3 I wanted. So it puts the 4 there. That's a 4, 9. That'll be 2 or 4. Okay. And these 2 would be 3 or 8. And that'll be 3 or 8 as well. Okay. That's a 2 or 9. And these 2 are 3, 8, 9. 3, 8, 9. 3, 3, 8, 3, 8. 8. Okay. And these 2 are 4 and 9. And these 3 are 2, 3, 4, and 8. 2, 2, 4, 9. Not a 9, so that's 9 over here. That's a 4. 2 or 4, and that's 2, 3 or 4. That being the 3. And these 2 are 2, 4. They're not 4. And that's the 4. So 2, 4, 9, 2, 9, 4, 4, 2. And what we're missing here, 2 and 8. That 9, 2, 3, 8. And 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, so the timer never kicked in even once. I probably didn't use undo a lot. So I don't actually use replay play for undo. I just use it on startup. Okay, so we're definitely keeping the timing in then. Although, interesting enough, 54 seconds for this simple puzzle? Really? Wait, this is string, right? So JSON dot parse dot actions. Nope. So it is JSON, but I need to actually decode it. And how did it end up here? No, from browser window. Oh, I clicked there. Okay, I got it. I got it. Replay.decode. I forget that operates on the JSON string. So 831 actions. Okay. So that's interesting in a couple of ways because it means that the time per action seems to go down. Although, no, that's a quarter of 4,000. It's fairly close to a quarter, and 150 milliseconds is not too far from a quarter of 500 or whatever we had here. I still don't like it. 150 milliseconds. I'm not worried about the 150, but there's a pause where the browser is kind of Make it into possible future enhancer. Did my suggestion box entry? Which one is that, Miss Ella Kitty? Can you refresh my mind? Because as you might imagine, there's a lot of kind of... I wouldn't even know where to look for it, to be honest. Yeah. I don't really think cutting that down... okay, so first of all, the timing information stays in there. That's not a problem. I don't really like the idea of putting a loading screen up for half a second. I for a long while have considered switching to always showing the splash screen. Now, what would be nice to show the splash screen before the replay is loaded? So maybe that's something I can look into and actually operate on, right? The problem is the splash screen is managed by the timing mechanism, which doesn't kick in until the puzzle is ready to start. So maybe I need to think about that. Also, if it's not solved, and then I refresh, yeah, we don't get that. Don't pause on start though. So if we pause on start, which I think is default behavior, maybe this thing we could show before we run the replay. So pause. So no pause on start. Stop this show pause dialog true. So are we here on the app or in the puzzle? Oh, we're on timer. Yeah. So the question is there some way of pulling this forward before the replay is getting loaded? Oh, okay, because I'm not looking at Twitch. I'm looking at my restream, re-chat thing. Let me see. Suggestion box v2, and I put it in there. Oh, yeah, 1 second. I'll have to... Yeah, it's in my notifications, I believe, right? No. My channel... It says 1, and then it says I have no messages. 1 second. Streaming tools, extensions. Sorry, I'm not a Twitch pro, that's for sure. My extensions. Suggestion box V2, okay. Why would I not get that? Okay, I'm in configuration, and there I'm finally seeing it. But why? Where would I normally expect to be seeing that? That's a bit annoying that that wouldn't just show up. Activity, maybe? Content. 1 second, I'm just poking into this quickly. Like, I don't know where this... Because I didn't get notified of this. Like, where would this normally go? Yeah, I didn't really... Okay. I've seen a lot of puzzle features on the CDC that require... Oh, and you wrote something 8 days ago that require 2 digits total in the box. I think it would be nice if Simon toggle or checkbox that would too large it can be entered into a cell. The thing is, technically, that's much harder to implement. We have some prototypes and stuff, and it's definitely a feature on the thing, but, you know, it's one of those, like, I want to do it properly, and I don't want to hack something in that I'll regret later. It's off the grid instead of the center. 9 is off the grid. Corner mark. Yeah, I mean, corner marking all digits is basically not supported. Oop. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Because it only lets you corner mark 9 digits, basically. So if you add the 0, or if you add digits, you know, it won't show all of them. It's not really a bug. It's just there's only so much space. It shouldn't overlap it, though. If you corner mark every number 1 through 9, 9 is off the grid. It's in the middle. It overlaps other numbers. Well, it overlaps the central digits, yeah. But so do the corner ones. Like, you can't... There's just only so much space. Double highlight a box to... Sorry, I'm just... Oh, no, that's 2 years ago. Okay. Never mind. Wow, people have been putting things in here, and I've never been notified for this. This is... thanks for letting me know. This is really annoying. Why did I never get notified for these? Required 2-digit total in a box. Yeah. Digits like 4 or 5 always sort. So he has used a corner in the center digit to note the tens in ones place. Yeah, it's just, you know, double digit is a fairly complex feature. It requires a fair amount of changes internally, because it's not just what's displayed on the board, it's how it's handled in the replays, how the data is stored. There's a lot of places where I don't store arrays of strings, but where I have a single string where every location, you know, so I'd either have to change how a lot of internals work, so that'd be a huge job, or I'd have to encode multi-digit digits as other symbols, as Unicode characters and stuff like that. And, it's pretty dodgy. So that is not an easy feature to implement just on top of the current framework. But that's part of why I do want to do these refactors, because by doing these refactors, for example, getting rid of individual strings and, you know, string representations for multiple elements and just turning them into proper arrays everywhere, that would be a refactor I'd want to do before I even attempt something like that. Okay, let's go back to seeing if I can pop up this dialog before the replay is finished playing. So timer.start, timer.start. Don't actually know where .start would be called. And I also would like to know why, if I search for timer.start, it didn't show me this. This is annoying. All right, handle puzzle start. So I'm just gonna copy that. We want to warn here, timer.start. We want to warn here. Sadly, this is happening in multiple places. Timer.start, puzzle start, timer.start. All right. So let's rerun this. So the replay happens here. App puzzle start. So this is part of the start event. Part of the problem is that currently the whole startup procedure is basically not handled inside the application. It's handled outside. And I think I should pull this whole thing into the application, the whole setup and loading thing. So maybe cleaning up the start function could be at least somewhat, because it's not big, but it's really rough. Hey, bait. So let's see what we can. So here are the 3 different kinds of puzzles we're loading. And we're basically quitting out after each one, right? We're initializing the app here. And I think this is actually, just refactoring this already would be valuable. This is something that's been a thorn in my eye for a long while. Even the way I'm doing the async stuff here at the moment. Kind of legacy code style, you know. We're doing this at the end. Show puzzle previously solved dialog. If puzzle. So, because there's a couple of cases, like here we do a redirect. And that should happen earlier, and it shouldn't even hit this stuff down here. But that's only on Sudoku puzzles, right? So let's convert this to async. I've started using async code all sorts of places. So if I do, if I make this async, right? It should run async function. Where does the async go? Forget. So that should still work. And we do some really basic stuff here. Like, why are we hiding the info dialog here? Is experimental mode, add experimental settings. Is this relevant anymore, or should I get rid of that? Yeah, I think That doesn't do anything. So get rid of it, I would say. This probably hasn't done anything in a long time. Get rid of that. App init can happen before these. Right. Why is this like that? So dot start. This app, is that used down here? Is that what I'm, yeah. All right, wait, one sec. So start framework.app. I don't think framework.app should be different there from here. Yeah, so I think this was like legacy where this was initialized elsewhere. I don't think there's ever going to be a case where when we run start, framework.app isn't set up yet. Secondly, let's see where start even is getting started from. Because start, I believe, is literally the entry point. Yeah. Yeah. So we're guaranteed that app is already in existence here. I'm wondering if these should move into that. Prevent zoom. Like, can we just move all of this into start? Maybe. Like, couldn't that be inside start? Basically here. Like, if I do it this way and this way, and then maybe rename it. Start is not called anywhere else, is it? Please say it ain't so. Don't think so. Why is it not? I ended up brace here. Yeah, so we can rename it as handle DOM content loaded. Handle DOM content loaded. That's our entry point. And that goes here. Just like that. That's gonna be cleaner. Why? Handle DOM content loaded. It's not defined. Why would start be defined but handle DOM? Oh, because of the defer. Yeah, I think it'll be defined once we get there. All right, fair enough. I mean, this whole thing can literally live inside script. I don't even know why that's there. So if we put that here, I think the reason it's not here is because without this, this file is basically inert. It won't do anything until we get to this thing. So this piece of code might have to live into a separate file. Okay, but for now, this is actually fine. And okay, so now this is async. It's the return calls here that are a little painful. Code color scheme. I don't think that's necessary here. So what if I move all of this stuff into a function? And I can even keep the function in here. Don't need that anymore. Don't need that anymore. Don't know why app.init is over here. All right. So, load puzzle, async puzzle ID, right? And then I should be able to basically just move all of this in there. Minus this, probably. Can go back to here. And then we can comment all of this out. And then we can just do a await return, you know. We can do a return load puzzle ID. That should be equivalent. That should be a clean refactor, right? Right, let's try it on our long puzzle. There we go. Okay. We can clean that up a little. And now we can just do this. I don't know why I'm doing the or empty string. But if I put this as a default here, I think that's good enough. All right. Now app.init doesn't appear to be async. I don't know why it doesn't happen here. I mean, DOM content is loaded, right? And there shouldn't be anything else running that we're waiting for. That should just work. Then we should be able to just await this. And then get rid of that. Whoop. That. Get rid of it. Now, I don't have a return here, so this isn't even async. That should just be able to live here. Without that. That should still work. Now, this is the sort of risky stuff I need to test a lot. We probably... I don't know why I didn't run that earlier. I think it's probably... I don't want the dialogue to kind of overlap with other dialogues. You can run that here. And then we'll do a try-catch around the whole thing. For like good old proper error handling. And that's basically the catch block here. Without all this other shenanigans. Like that. Okay, haven't broken it yet. Okay, so that's cleaning this part up. We probably want to move all of this inside the try. That only makes sense. And app isn't used down here, so we can stay within this. And now this I should be able to clean up further. Alright. Ciao guys. Bye Toby. The startup replay timer. Startup replay timer. No, I'm planning to leave that in because apparently I'm only executing that once, so it's gonna sit here. So I'm gonna use that for some debugging. And by debugging, I mean just keeping an eye on it, trying to get a better awareness of kind of times, see what happens. You know, if somebody encounters an issue, I can ask them to open their console and have a look, you know. All right, so CTC Sudoku, F Puzzle Sudoku, Compact Classic, is SCF. And I don't know if the order is important. And all of this should be refactored into the puzzle tools type things, not these weird regular expression checks. For example, I'd like to know if these are used elsewhere. Yes, they are. So I have to, all of this should get moved somewhere else for now. But for now, I'm gonna try to limit myself to just refactoring this part. All right, I'm gonna go wider again. Biggest worry I have is this thing, because that's kind of a, it's almost like completely out of the flow, you know? Now we're async here, so we can exit here, but we can also say await this. Let res equals await this. And then we can do let ctc puzzle equals this, right? And then we can do return app.load puzzle. Or just await and then return, for example, right? And this is an fpuzzles puzzle, so this should be exactly the branch we're hitting, and it's all blowing up. Okay. It's not defined. Because I moved it in here. All right. I mean, this stuff should get moved into app eventually, but for now, I'm gonna just clean it up. Okay. I guess I need a CTC puzzle example, so I don't just make blind changes here. All right. So that should be this branch. So we have a return here, but other than that, we can do this and this. We can just do an await. Wait this, and then just a blank return here. The problem is, I think there might be some overlap. Like, well, first of all, no, because like these these things are nanosecond checks. They're not complex checks, right? So doing them all every time and then in 0.01 milliseconds and then doing 500 milliseconds of actually loading the puzzle doesn't make a difference. What I'm worried is that I don't have a clear structure right now of how the puzzle IDs are. So I don't know if, for example, if I check for one, if there's something that could match more than one, you know, how strict these checks are. Especially since the short CTC IDs don't have a match. So I don't want to mess with the order right now. For that, I need to, like, I started a long time ago. I basically have a little toolkit which was meant to be able to identify puzzle types. And basically, I have this call here which says get puzzle format, right? But it's not complete right now. So I'd have to update this, clean it up, and make sure it's working, and then start actually using it. And I've never switched to actually using it, so right now it's not the right time to do that. Right now, I'm just gonna clean up the syntax a little bit so I can look at this in the future and have a bit of a better idea what's going on. So, for example, we're loading CTC puzzle here and here. So what I would like to do is have this and this combined. You know, basically, this should just change the puzzle ID to be a CTC puzzle ID. And then we should be hitting this thing up here. So, let's have a look at an SCF puzzle. And the easiest SCF puzzle is the SCF puzzle with the ID SCF. So if we're hitting SCF here, right? Look at puzzle ID. And then we look at the decoded puzzle ID, which should be a full-on CTC puzzle. Yeah, you see, it's not actually... Because this goes through some decoding. So unless I want to re-encode it, maybe this is not the way to go. Puzzle ID equals string, and it's not the empty string. My god, this is some sort of fall-through catch-all kind of thing. And some of them might actually not be invoked at all. They might just be old leftover bollocks. I'm also wondering if these two checks, if I can combine them. Fixed fpuzzle data. Encode fpuzzle CTC. Fixed puzzle slashes. CTC data. CTC puzzle data. Excuse me. I'm curious if I can leave the prefix on these when I pass into the fix fpuzzle slashes function. Because if I can, maybe I can combine these bits of code. Because I think... No, this needs to be able to decompress the data. Right, okay. But... Okay, so let's see. These lines and these lines are roughly equivalent. Fix button puzzle data redirecting, right. So fixed data, fixed fpuzzles data, fpuzzles data, fixed data, fixed data. Let's rename this to just fixed puzzle data. And even here, fixed puzzle data. Then let format prefix CTC. All right, we'll move that there. And we'll move format prefix to there. And then that is the same. Right. So, starting from this line now, these are different, but they don't matter. The problem is the return here, because if I put these into a function, I cannot return from them anymore. Although it almost doesn't matter, right? Because we're kind of bailing out anyways. The question is, if I continue loading bad data, will the errors cause the redirect not to work, right? It's almost like, at this point, I almost want to throw. So, let's see. Const... fix puzzle fix slashes. Right. So what do we need here? We need puzzle data and format prefix. Something like that. Right. And we'll do this. We run in format prefix and CTC data. Like that. And we're hoping to replace these three. And I'm wondering if I could do something potentially clever with awaiting on that and then basically bailing out without returning at all. But I'm just gonna try this now, right? So now fixed puzzle data is this applied to puzzle data. If CTC puzzle data equals fixed puzzle data, we're just going to return. Boom, done. Else, we'll do this. Attempt to fix badly encoded puzzle data, redirecting. We'll do this. And it's almost like we want to throw afterwards? Maybe? Throw. New error. Failing with redirecting to fixed puzzle data. Now, to trigger that, I'll actually need bad puzzle data, which isn't super common. Like, this isn't gonna trigger it. This isn't gonna trigger it. And I think fixed puzzle data takes data that has 2 slashes and substitutes data that has 1 slash. I should have kept some test data. These aren't super frequent. Double. If I search for // in the chat, will I find something? No. If I search for double, I'm searching my Discord basically to see, because I've discussed obviously these issues with people, and where I've been discussing those issues, I might be able to find a URL that has the issue that I can use for testing. So can I just copy link and check if that has the issue? Now the problem is this probably will, yeah, it'll go to beta and it'll have fixed the URL here. Or will it? I only see singular slashes and I didn't experience a redirect. So we go to local host, like that. If I go to there, what am I going to encounter? I don't know if that's still an issue now. CTC puzzle data not defined. Okay. CTC puzzle data. Yeah, that's not what we want. Handle puzzle start replay data. Well, it's obviously running. We're executing fixed slashes here. Well, so it could be that there isn't. We have 2 slashes. Yeah, so we have 2 slashes here. So if I remove one of those slashes, which is basically the issue, is that some URL parsing basically strips double slashes out of a URL. If I do that, it should be broken, but we should find our flow here. Okay. So if we now don't do the redirect here, basically skip them and just output this. To something like this, right? So what happens? We're getting to fixed slashes CTC. We basically want to redirect. We've got the fixed URL, and then we're hitting this. Error in handle.load error. Redirect to fixed puzzle data. Uncaught in promise. Redirecting to fixed puzzle data. Cannot read property null of puzzle zipper. Puzzle zipper 5247. Fix slashes. This should throw the exception here. But because we're not awaiting. Well, okay, so this isn't async, so we don't need... So if I get rid of the async, because basically we've already gone past that before the error even the exception got thrown, and that's probably why we didn't hit that code point. Yeah, exactly, and that's why we got 2 exceptions ultimately. All right, so that seems to work. So that gets rid of all of this. Gets rid of all of this. Obviously, we don't need to double up on that, you know, thing here. So that's just this, and that's just this. Ultimately, all of this should be handled at a higher level in some sort of loader and all that stuff. But, you know, one step at a time. This is already cleaning this up quite a bit. Okay, so what do we have now? We have the fixed slashes. We're decoding the data here, so let's make this a one-liner as well. Get rid of the intermediaries. So that's just our CTC puzzle, which then gets passed into load CTC puzzle here. And fixed slashes happens on this part, yeah. Just trying to think. I think after the fixing, because I'm just saying, I'm just thinking we could do this in here. Because that's done in both here. And we could just return the data. Yeah, I don't actually like that. Yeah. Because we're just replacing the prefix, so what we could do is... First of all, we're just gonna call this format. We're gonna do this. Let redirect URL equals this. Just to be a little bit more organized. Then we're gonna move this part into there. So we're gonna let puzzle data. We're gonna call this puzzle ID. And then we're gonna call this puzzle data. And that's gonna be puzzle ID dot replace new regex. It's just gonna be this and that. And it's not puzzle ID, it's format. We're gonna just replace it with nothing. And we're gonna do that. Then we can get rid of all of this. Just gonna pass in puzzle ID straight up. Same here, get rid of that. And we're gonna let puzzle data equals. Here we're just gonna return that. So we've done the work already, right? Ah, that happens here. Right? And then instead of fpuzzles data, we'll just call it puzzle data. Or do we're gonna Actually, I'm gonna separate them still here, since they are different. Right? So, where's our test data with SCF? Which doesn't run through that. fpuzzles data. Max checks. Why is this a problem suddenly? fpuzzles undefined /n. Wait, what? Ah, wait. That goes here. Rookie mistake. That worked, right? All right, and we had a CTC test puzzle here. That worked as well. Okay. So that works. So then we can get rid of this. So these code blocks are getting shorter and more similar, right? Now we can get rid of that. We can wrap that in here. And now we're down to CTC puzzle data. And now you're, so these two are both end up in load CTC puzzle. Now, not everything ends up in load CTC puzzle, but quite a few things do. So we have load compact classic. That's different. Maybe we'll do that one first because it's so different. Or we do it last, maybe. And then this also adds up as CTC puzzle. So we can do this here. And then that just goes there. And now, basically, I'm trying to make these bits of code similar. So these lines are always the same here. Because I'm wondering if I could indicate the puzzle type somehow down the line. The thing is, I have this fall through that I want to do if none of these kick in, Because ideally, basically, what I would do is if it's this or this or this, do these things. I don't know. My brain is stupid. I want to replace these 3 bailout points, right? The other thing would be is to turn these into, basically emulate my format. So we can do something like const get puzzle format, right? And we're basically just turning these into strings. So then we can do a switch statement and we can do a bunch of stuff more easily. So we can do this. If return. And compact classic, I believe, is literally the word classic. Yeah. So we're just going to call this one classic. Right. We'll do this one. And we want to move away from CTC, so we're going to call it the Sam Catmull Lines format internally. That's part of this refactor as well, that I can do these sorts of things. If fpuzzles, we're going to return, and we're going to shorten this, fpuzz. Eventually, I want to move to fpuzz everywhere, including the format specifier. So that's these 3 handled. I have this one. Turn SCF. Okay. So we'll do this. That format equals get puzzle format, puzzle ID. Now we can have a look at what the format says. I should wind this down pretty quickly. I can't be streaming forever. So we have a format SCL, yada yada yada, right? So now we can do a switch on format. We can group them together, these ones that are similar to each other, right? So we can say if it's a classic, right? Like that. We can do this and return. Although I'm hoping to get rid of the returns. And then we can do these 3 cases. So case, because I was hoping that I could do this bit, or this bit, and then for all 3 do this. But no, I can only do them like only the first. I can do the first and the second and third. The second and the third, or just the third, right? Let me think. Because this happens for 2 of them. 24-hour stream. Oh my god, I don't think I can handle it anymore. I used to stream. I remember I did a Christmas stream once where I was baking cookies for like 8 hours. That was fun. All right. I feel like there's a better way of doing this. Because we have 3 of these. Well, what we could do is we could do the reverse now, right? We can bail out early. So we're getting one of these 4 formats, right? And let's ignore this for a second. So that's our 4 formats that we're handling in the get format call. Let's compactify them just a little. Right, that's these 4. The ones that aren't handled is the classic one, and then these fall-throughs. And the fall-throughs should really be at the front. I prefer to bail out early, right? So, since these are handled, we don't have to have this fall-through anymore. You can say if format is... and in fact, we can actually add this as a format, right? We can just say... if yada yada return remote. We can give this a label, right? Then we can say if format equals undefined. Now we can do our bailout or an error throw here. Boom, done. Now we don't have to worry about that anymore. Now this suddenly becomes our remote, right? So now we can say if format equals remote. We can do a bailout on this. We don't have to even do the await here. If format equals classic, we can do a bailout on this. Boom. So that sorts out that one. And load remote. Yeah, and that one. And then all the remaining are all turned into CTC puzzles, right? So we can now do switch format, and instead of classic, we'll go SCL. We have SCL, we have FPUS and SCF. And we'll do them actually in reverse order, because SCF is the simplest one. So our SCF is this. We'll just do this. And we'll just do let CTC puzzle. Right? So we'll just do that. And that can easily be a one-liner, this particular one. Then we'll do this for SCL. Can just do this. Also one-liner, no worries. And then finally, this guy. So I'll move that into here. And because it's async, we can do the little sneaky await here in the middle. Don't actually know what is async about load F puzzles. I don't remember. But it is what it is, right? And now that should get us our CTC puzzle data. And then we can just await on that. And then we don't have a return bail here at all. Boom, done. Right? And I think that makes the whole thing a little bit more a little bit more logical. Yeah, we don't need. Okay. That should still work for all three, all four, all five. However many different formats I'm supporting by now. The whole thing is insane anyways. Who supports so many different puzzle formats? Sudoku Lab, I believe, does. Or at least 2 or 3 formats they do. Okay. I mean, this is a refactor, right? Like, I don't want to introduce any kind of risk point. So far, I think the code still does exactly what it used to do. But now things are kind of... there's a stage where we're just transforming to CD's puzzle. Now I'm actually thinking, the load remote... Load remote... It basically just... I almost want to get rid of that, because it basically just does this to get us the CTC puzzle data. Like, this is the only thing it does. And I'm almost tempted to just get rid of that. Like, load remote CTC puzzle. It's called elsewhere. Deserialized state. I mean, there's no harm in still having it elsewhere. All right, so if I load remote, instead of doing that, it just does that asynchronously, right? So if I do CTC puzzle equals await that, I can group it with these other guys and have another one less duplication of load CTC puzzle. Although I don't recall if it actually does the load CTC puzzle. So let's just make sure. So let's actually search for that. That's in the puzzle. That's in app. Load remote. Load remote CTC puzzle. Load remote. And are we in app here? Yes. This never goes through CTC puzzle. Still hits load remote CTC puzzle, but on puzzle. Load compact classic Sudoku. No. Okay, we know it's not a compact classic. We've already taken care of that. So then it hits load CTC puzzle, but on puzzle. That's a little confusing because here... But this might just be a redirect. Yeah, that's just a redirect. So that still works. Okay, so that should still work. So we don't need this at all. And that should do the trick. So that should do the trick for... for the cracking the cryptic puzzle IDs that they use in the YouTube channel. So if we go to today's, what's the URL? No, don't take me elsewhere. Stop. So we'll just need that, and we'll do a. So that should be this branch. Unexpected token break. Okay, that's good. All right. So that also works. So we get rid of this. And now I'm actually thinking, what does Load Compact Classic do? Because as far as I know, Load Compact Classic... Oh, it does... It hits load puzzle afterwards. Yeah, that's quite different because load CTC... Oh, is it? What does load CTC puzzle do? It does a convert and... So it basically just... It skips the convert puzzle step. Um, the thing is, first of all, nobody uses that puzzle type. Nobody uses classic puzzle URLs. And I could literally just convert them to SCF very, very simply. So this might be one that's just ready to be gotten rid of. Because load class, I think classic is literally just 81 digits. So let's see. Let's get something like this: framework.app.get.to p81. Yeah. So I think classic is basically this. Yeah. So that's actually, so okay, we can probably just completely get rid of that. Yeah. Let's swap them around. Because it does the whole building of a thing. But we could literally we could just generate an SCF from this, right? Because I believe this is a valid SCF. Actually, how do I put a blank here? I think with a 0, right? Yeah. So if I now put SCF here, I think SCF encoding does support this. So I can handle a classic as an SCF. I think to have a whole separate function for that, and a big one at that, doesn't make any sense at all. So if I return SCF for this, and I call this, and SCF is obviously more powerful because it actually adds the description and the solution code and whatnot. Oh. Not the same after all. I don't fully remember what classic actually looks like. Classic data cages givens. Get region shape area calls areas. I think the only difference is that classic supports puzzles larger than 9x9. Maybe? I'm tempted to just rip it out completely and just drop support for classic. I don't think there are any classic puzzles out there. Cracking the cryptic site app.crackingthecryptic.com in classic. I mean, it'll find them in the thingamajigs. Okay, Google advanced search word in URL. All in URL. Okay. Like, I personally used that, but maybe nobody else ever did. So, all in URL. SudokuPad. And do I have to list both words behind the one all in URL? Or, in other words, do I have to do something like this? I forgot, did they come home already? I think I'm just gonna rip it out. I don't think anybody has ever used it. It's out of date. And SCF is strictly better in every way now. So, load remote CTC puzzle. We're gonna just replace that with this. Like that. Create new classic Sudoku. Now that, on the other hand, might be used. So we should replace that with an SCF equivalent, right? So for example, if I do this of just the string SCF, that should get me the data. And then I can just run that into load CTC puzzle. Are we on puzzle here or on app? No, we do this dot yada yada yada. Load CTC puzzle. Like that. And create new classic. It's done from where? Setting. New classic. Switch control. Handle button. Setting new classic. I don't even know if that's probably not even a thing anymore either. Alright. But that means we can get rid of that. Load puzzle. Where is load puzzle getting used? Wait, load puzzle. Yeah, because I think we're just gonna get rid of that altogether, right? So that's not gonna be a thing anymore. That's not gonna be a thing anymore. And then we can just do that here. Default. Boom. Format isn't used anywhere else. We don't even need that anymore. Now the whole thing is like 5 lines instead of 2 pages. Default. Like that. I wish switch could be used as an expression sometimes. Okay. Now obviously that doesn't exist anymore. But that's fine. We got rid of that. We just got rid of the support for that file format, which is fine. So I keep telling myself that because I hate removing backwards compatibility. But it's backwards compatibility to nothing for no reason. Alright, I think it's time for me to call this to an end. So I'm gonna just clean up all these stray logging statements. And then I'm probably not gonna release this today because oh no, this one we want to keep. B277. Rid of that. 3284. 3284. 3284. But restart puzzle. 3282. I need that. Get rid of that. I mean, a lot of these miscellaneous functions probably shouldn't be existing either. Like these test functions. Go puzzle menu. Is that even a thing? It's like some old test stuff, and most of that probably won't even work. So show puzzle menu. Show puzzle menu. Test classic puzzles. Huh? 4993. I should just rip all that out. That should be... Yeah, most of this stuff probably just doesn't work anymore. Find window dot. Test classic Sudokus. Test classic Sudokus. Yeah, I think this was like in here somewhere a long time ago. Test all puzzles loading. Yeah, I don't think... Play new classic Sudoku. Yeah, I don't think these should be in here. Don't think these should be in here. Test, load, play, show puzzle menu. Like, none of that should be here. Find test. We want test, but followed by a capital letter, basically. Ah, wait, there were... Test classic, settings. Classic, play classic. Create plastic, classic. This was like a manual way of handling... That's all we do want. I mean, that still works, I think. And that's a legit test. Okay. Let's just make sure I'm blowing everything up now. 5, 1, 2, 8. There's so much craft and old code in there that we should be getting rid of anyways. And that's, yeah, that's kind of... I need to do a couple of these sessions. I should probably rip out, like, pages of code from this file that aren't used anywhere. And certain things shouldn't be in this file, like, you know, it should be handled in external plugins and so on and so forth. There's probably whole classes in here that aren't being used. Ah, yeah, like there's 3 different kinds of encodings for replays. None of which are, only one of which is being used in the last 2 years. So, you know, I should probably, yeah, there's the A type, the B type, and the C type. A type doesn't even exist in here anymore. But I have A to C conversions all over the place. Yeah, that's stupid. No, these are all being used. That's all fine. That I refactored not too long ago, actually. This, the heck is this being used? Nowhere, I believe. Frick. Okay. No. Convert puzzle. The thing is, there's a method by that name. But I think this isn't being used anywhere either. RC, I don't know if I'm using the RC class anymore. I think there might be a few places, but I probably should get rid of it. Yeah, there's a couple of places I use it. It should definitely move into utilities. Test solver probably should move into solver. Find solutions. Don't think. I don't think I'm using it anywhere. Yeah, everywhere I'm just using a solver directly. Yeah, I think we can get rid of that. I don't think it's useful. Yeah. I'm worried about breaking some obscure test page somewhere that I made and forgot about. Open puzzle with solution. Oh yeah, okay, those are like helper functions, add solution. Yeah, okay, these are relatively recent. I wish there was like a last modified date on each function. Yeah, okay. Test solver we'll keep. All right, okay. That's the end of the stream. I'm gonna look for a very super quick. Is there a daily puzzle? No. I'm just gonna play another puzzle from Sudoku Solver as a end to the stream. Let's pick a nice one. Let's pick a 4xq4 thingamajig here. So SudokuPad, and from SudokuPad to localhost, and that'll be our test puzzle. So I'm gonna just play through this. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger for the stream. There we go. So that's an Windoku and X diagonal. And let's get it done. 4s, I see a couple of 4s. Worth checking. Yes, a very, very fruitful. 4 here, 4 there, and I think 1 4 here. All the 4s done. That was quick. 2 5s. All right. 5 here, 5 here. That might be enough to keep us going. 5 over there. On the diagonal. 5 here or here. So there's no 5 here. But there could be a 5 here and or here. Okay. 8s. I'm seeing a few. Not too many. There's an 8 in one of these two, so no 8 here, no 8 here. So there's an 8 here. Which... shouldn't they? I have missing some conflict checking. Don't pointing... I have a feeling... the conflict checker's broken. Did I break the conflict checker somehow? Let's try it on beta. If I put 8s here and an 8 here, they go red. If I put them here, they do not go red. I broke the conflict checker. How did I break the conflict checker? That is bad, because I've done a whole bunch of stuff. But I thought I only poked around in the puzzle loading code. So how did I break the conflict checker? That's a mystery. Unless this isn't... Unless I broke it earlier. What did I do before? Maybe it's broken. No, but this has nothing to do with the compact marks. What else did I change? I changed the app.cell rendering thing. Let's revert that briefly. If I get rid of that, maybe cell rendering is off at the time of the conflict check. No. Oh no. Okay. We have an issue. I'm gonna stash this quickly. I don't want to leave the stream with this completely broken. So if I stash this, right? And it's still working on beta, so I didn't push anything anyway, so or deploy it, I should say. Oh my gosh, how long is this taking? Come on, kid, you can do it. All right. So if I refresh this now, do we have conflict checking? It looks like we do. So how did I break conflict? Okay, that's better actually. Since it means... But how do any of these changes break conflict checking? That is odd. That is very odd. It wasn't the cell rendering. It's obviously not that. None of the other stuff should interfere with the running puzzle. Like none of these global functions. Yeah, I hacked start to hell and back, but how does that affect conflict checking? There was something about an experimental setting. There was something here about... But I still don't see how that affects conflict checking while the game is running. I mean, it'll be fairly easy to like restore this part by part. But it's a little strange to me. All right, let me make a copy of this. I mean, a lot of this it's probably would be easy to bring back. I can't imagine how any of the remotes, the loading stuff can do it. Let's see the settings stuff. Maybe it's settings stuff. So settings came before editor, right? Maybe it's one of these. Although I don't see how. It's one of these. Again, don't see how. Oh, no. I don't know what Control G does in the GitHub client, but I press Control G here. It's scary. 4792. So after setting spec, again, don't see how any of that would do it. Nope. All right. It doesn't use load remote in any of these. I don't see how it's any of these global functions that I just ripped out. 4974. Yeah, guys, it's getting late. I need to let the lady into this room because I'm blocking the whole apartment. Not that. Is it really the start function? It seems so unlikely. Load remote. I mean, this isn't even being run, so I don't see how it's this. Find solutions after this. So now it's everything except the start function. That's... I still don't understand how the start function could possibly break this. Like, the only thing I can imagine is something to do with this. Or, like, any of these weird things that aren't the loading... Oh, they haven't even come home yet. For some reason, I was convinced you'd come home and gone into the bedroom and hiding away. And, like, I was getting really nervous about blocking you from getting in here and stuff. I don't know, my brain just been messing with me. Anyway, I'm just winding down now. I just need to sort something out. So the entire start function, I mean, we could just restore it as it was. And that should just bring the functionality back, right? I mean, that's... You know what we can do is actually, we can bring the start functions itself back. Because we've created a new function, right? So if we just bring the start function back here. And hopefully the git diff here should help us figure that out. Right? So it should... I mean, it's not getting executed, so it should still be broken. Right? But we can now go into our root file here and execute start instead. Maybe a little bit more than start. Start in all of these. Nope. I keep F5ing on this, but I need to be F5ing on this. Okay. It's back. So maybe it's something related to timing? All right. We're gonna now backtrack some of this. We can do this. Right. That should still have it operational. Yes, so that means it's still working. Okay. So far, so good. I mean, this is now kind of where we were before. Let's just have a quick peek at these. Create tool buttons. So that's the same. And we have a promise resolve before app.init. So I'm guessing we need to throw in an await here. All right, so if we go back to here. And if I do an await here, I don't know how the timing is on that. No, that seems to have done the trick. So we need an async step. Okay, let's go back to our version here. That should bring all our changes back. Like that. And then we'll do an await promise.resolve here. So that needs to be separated by an async step for some reason. Again, it'd be best if I knew why. It could even be that app.init is async itself. It's not. So it could just be something about setting up the DOM. But that doesn't explain that after... Yeah, it doesn't explain it. To do... Figure out why this needs to be async. Why this breaks conflict checking if missing. But at least all the other changes we made aren't, you know, back to the drawing board. Let's restart it. We have a clean slate and all that. What did I say earlier? What did I start with? I think I saw a bunch of threes. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. No, it wasn't threes. It was 8, 8, 8. Maybe eights. Yeah, wait. Probably easier targets. I definitely didn't start with eights. This diagonal, so it can't be here because it's got to be on one of these two grays. We've got an A here. Well, the conflict checking definitely works now. And we have one in here, which means we now have an 8 up here. An 8 in here. 2 7s over there. Can't be a 7. That can't be a 7. Then one of these two. That can't be a 7. 7 in this diagonal. 7's not here. 7 here and here. Not here, we said. 7 here and here. What was the digit earlier that we saw? Oh, maybe it was the 4. See a bunch of 4s. 4 things. 4s. 4s. 4. Ah. 4s. 8 here and here. 3s. Not so much. 5s. Meh. Yeah, there's no one here. Guess 5s weren't so bad. More 5s. Diagonals. One of these two not here. Yeah, I think that's roughly where we were earlier. 9s. That many. Very restrictive with the diagonals and the window cages. 9. 6. Not a 6. Alright. Here then. 1, 2 over here means 3, 5, 7, and 9 are the remaining. Yeah, not that great. 1, 2, 9, all of them are still missing here. Still missing here. 4. Alright, 6 have to be exactly here. That's something. These are 1, 2, and 5. 1, 2, 6, and 9. I'm just doing silly things now. 7s, 1s. We don't have anything on 1s really. 5s. What do we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 9. Wow, that's nothing. Nothing good. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 9. 1, 3, 6, and 9. This diagonal we are missing 6. 1, 2, 6, and 9. And 6 is precisely here. That's something. 6 is out of there. We have more than 6s now. 6 down here and over here. Alright, fair enough. 1, 2 here. Oh, that's a 9 now, suddenly. That's nice. 3 and 5. Not a 7. They're marked in here. Not a 9 over here or down here. And 9s are a little more restricted now. It's definitely a 9 one of these two. It's definitely not in there. The one down here. Oh. And... a 9 over here. Also not super useful. 1, 2. I've got a lot of 1s and 2s, but not 1s or 2s, if you know what I mean. 2s here, here. 1, 2 on the diagonal. 2s on this diagonal. Not great. 3. 1, 2, 5, 3, 5, 7. 9s on that gray square is exactly here. That's something. Just notice that. And we've got 9 here, displacing a 3. Okay. We're getting somewhere with the 9s. Oop, it's not a 3 anymore. These on the diagonal have gotten rarefied. Let's see it. 1, 2, 3, 9. Not a 9. 3. 1, 2, 3, 5. 1 second, let me just check. YouTube streaming. Shall we lap sun moon? Alright. Almost done on this one. Ah, wait. 7 on the diagonal has to be here, right? So that's a 1, 2 now. That makes this a 3, 5, or 9. And 1, 3, 5 diagonally through this box, not useful. 1, 3, 5, 6. All of them still possible. Well, that's useless. 5. Oh, 5 on this diagonal is now very limited. And now we're starting to hit those 1s and 2s finally. It's a 6 here, 3 here. 1, 2, or 9. Or exactly 1. 1 here, 3 and 9. 3, 5, 3 and 9. Not here, but here. 1, 5, 3. 1, 3, 9. Exactly here. 6 goes there. Maybe a 5. 5 here and 2. Alright, that took longer than it should have. But that showed me that at least it's basically working. I'll do some more testing before I publish this one. I will push it to the repo though. Yeah, there's so much craft in here and we're getting rid of that. I will version it though. It'll make it easier to kind of deal with any kind of, like, obviously it's a refactor, so it's no features added, nothing significantly changed. But I removed enough stuff that it could cause a problem. Refactor. Start. Eventually I'll spell it right. So that's it. Complete as soon as it's open law. I'd like to... Well, if the solution data says the whole puzzle needs to be blank, that would do it. So for example, if I empty this, like, okay, I can show you. If I take, if I create a blank puzzle like this, right? And then I'll go, I believe, new solution link. I guess it refuses to let me do that. New solution link. Why won't it run that? So if I do this and output that, what do we get? Data with solution is undefined. Why? I think it doesn't work with an SCF puzzle. I need a CDC puzzle. That's actually something that should go on my to-do list, because I probably don't need to be that strict about that. Where's our CDC puzzle? Our test puzzle. SCF, CDC. So if I take this, so that should get us CDC puzzle data. Yeah, because I think I'm starting with the raw data. I don't just use the internal data. Yeah. F has CDC links. This is a CDC link. Open with puzzle solution. What is your problem, mister? Alright. Let's try this again. Maybe it's the URL format. Puzzle ID. Data with solution. Add puzzle. Data with solution. Puzzle solution. Yeah. We should get 2 datas with solution. Something went wrong. Can I read properties of index off? 1 and 2. Where does it crash between those two? Solution link 1. It gets to here and then crashes here. Puzzle ID is that. Data with solution. Add solution CDC. I don't know where the error comes from, to be honest. Well, if the solution says all digits are okay for all fields, that, you know, that's what it would do. But I just encountered a small bug. We got the solution, so it's fine till here. So, puzzle. Okay, it doesn't get to puzzle. Gets past solution. What's puzzle data then? Oh, probably because it's our... it looks like it is not... I'm not... what's the word? I'm not URL decoding it properly. So inside fix, yeah. So I think it's literally just missing this. I don't actually mind if I throw this in as a bug fix without recording it properly. Unzip, decompress, puzzle. If I do this, then run it through this first, will that fix it? I mean, it's probably not a feature a lot of people use. Actually, this is a feature people use. Yeah, so that'll fix it. I'm just gonna... Well, I versioned it already, so I can actually put this in as a new patch thing. Although it's fixes something old, so I probably will increment the minor version here. And in fact, the version bump... I hate that. Why did the version... So 80 to 90. 90 to 80. Why is it... Oh, it overwrote the version bump. Why? G3137 wants to go back in time. Silly thing. All right. Point being, if I now reset this, right, and then I'll do new solution link, it should add, yeah, you see, solve the puzzle. Now, this has an all, expects all cells to be empty as a solution, but you can have a solution where all cells need to be anything. No, you just pointed out a small bug that I'm actually quite happy to fix. Let me just bump that. And I think that'll be it for the stream. I hear cooking noises and dogs drinking water noises and all that in the background, which is my clue to get off this machine. All right, let me just close all of this, because if I leave this lying around, that, you know what, I'm happy we didn't do that, but we didn't need it. That other fix was actually major. Correct. Fix decoding issue in CT in down command lines format solution integration commit naming. All right, I don't think we need this anymore. I don't this we do need, and I don't think I need this at all since I have it down here. Don't need that. So that's done. Happy with that. Other items are not for your eyes. Oops. What did I click on here? Who knows? And yeah, I need to fix that as well. But that is it for today for the stream. It was a little bit of a messy one, a little bit extra technical. But I'm glad actually some of that stuff was done. A couple of bugs were fixed. I haven't done really just bug fixing sessions in ages. But thanks for hanging out and thanks for sticking around. It helps me to have some company. Yeah, it's weird that I haven't had that reported either. Maybe it's one of those things where it doesn't work and people just get frustrated and then they don't report it. But that's it for today. Thank you very much for hanging out. Thanks for stopping by. This has been Ben working on SudokuPad. Thanks for your support. Take care. Have a good day.